Part 51. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 501. If the relationship was not good, Bai Tianliang would not come to accompany guests, and she would not come to help cook. Although she did not mention this matter, Zhang Shui's eyes turned and mentioned another topic, pretending to be emotional, and jokingly said, "Jinyu, Li Yuan is so profitable and loves Wei 11 so much. It seems that you two can move to Shanghai and settle down soon. Why do you still need to work? We are teachers, and we only make 2 or 3,000 yuan a month. Look, it's not enough for them to have a drink." Yang Jinyu looked at Zhang Shui, who seemed to be smiling, and she naturally heard the hidden meaning in the other party's words. If Li Yuan hadn't bought a big house in Shanghai for her daughter, she might have changed her answer and dealt with it. But now, the red book is still lying in the house. In the core area of Shanghai, the top-level large flat of 388 square meters, the luxury house worth tens of millions, is owned by her own precious daughter alone. Isn't this the perfect time to slap her in the face? When Bai Wuxi and Li Yuan returned to Bangsu town in the afternoon, she was thinking about how to find an opportunity to spread the news that Li Yuan bought a mansion for her daughter. This was not to show off deliberately, but to wash away the unpleasant rumors. It was also a response to some people's words that Li Yuan is just playing around and this kind of man is unreliable. He was able to buy a mansion worth tens of millions for his daughter, gave her 2 luxury cars, and various expensive gifts. In just a few months, Li Yuan spent more than 10 million for his daughter. Can this be said to be just playing around? No one would believe it. Even if the richest man in Baiming County was in person, he would not dare to say that he was willing to spend this money, just playing around. Yang Jinyu smiled proudly and answered meaningfully. That's right, Wuxi was still saying yesterday that we should quit our jobs and live in the Magic City after the new year. Her house is too big, and it's a bit scary to live alone. Hearing Yang Jinyu's answer, Zhang Shui's expression was stunned for a moment, and she wondered if she had heard it wrong. What does "the house is too big, and I'm scared to live in it" mean? So, my niece, who is just a freshman in college, already has a house in Shanghai. And it's a very large house? As a teacher, her son is studying in Shanghai and has been working for a year. He wants to settle down in Shanghai. But until now, she hasn't started buying a house. The main reason is that the house price is too expensive. Even a small 3-bedroom house of 80 or 90 square meters has a total price of over 1 million. If she uses a mortgage, the down payment will be 300,000 or 400,000, which will completely drain her family's assets. Zhang Shui felt confused and looked at Yang Jinyu with a smug smile on her face. She opened her mouth again to confirm. "Jinyu, has Wuxi really bought a house in Shanghai?" Yang Jinyu nodded. "Yes, I bought it." Seeing that this always arrogant sister-in-law was in a daze with an unbelievable expression, Yang Jinyu continued to finish the job. "Hey, Li Yuan is the same. He bought such a big house for our Wei 11. A 388 square meter large flat. If Wei 11 lives alone, she will be a little scared." Listening to Yang Jinyu's finishing blow, Zhang Shui's body was trembling slightly. A 388 square meter house doesn't sound big, and there are many of them in this small county. However, the same house also depends on where it is located. The value of houses in Baiming County and houses in Shanghai is very different. For her son's house purchase, she specially checked the house prices in Shanghai. For example, a house of more than 300 square meters is already a top luxury house in Shanghai. If it is not 20,000 or 30,000 per square meter, don't even think about it. Thinking that Li Yuan spent tens of millions to buy a house for his niece, Zhang Shui felt a little dreamy, as if she was dreaming, and she couldn't believe it. Zhang Shui still couldn't believe it. "Jinyu, are you kidding me? Whose name is written on the house?" It's not that she didn't believe Li Yuan could buy a mansion worth tens of millions, but she didn't believe that Li Yuan would buy it and give it to Bai Wuxi. That's 10 million, not 1 million, the difference is too big. Yang Jinyu heard Zhang Shui's doubts, not angry, but a little happy in her heart. Sister-in-law, wait a moment, I'll go and get the property certificate for you to take a look. After saying that, without waiting for Zhang Shui's reaction, Yang Jinyu swayed her plump figure and went directly to Bai Wuxi's bedroom and took out the property certificate. Here, sister-in-law, look, this is the property certificate. Zhang Shui took the property certificate, looked at the detailed information on it, her body trembled again, and she muttered to herself. 338 square meters, Tianyu Yupan, the owner is Bai Wuxi, it's true. Yang Jinyu looked at Zhang Shui's shocked expression and was very proud in her heart. This house is also the fundamental reason why she and her husband can let go of their grudges. With this house, the future of her baby daughter is guaranteed. She has a car and a house. Even if they can't be together in the future, there will be no regrets. As adults, they understand the power of money better than anyone else. With money, although they can't do whatever they want, they can do most things. Wei 11 said that this is a spring festival gift from Li Yuan to her. After the new year, let's go and refer to the decoration. Yang Jinyu deliberately sighed and mentioned it. Alas, such a big house, the decoration alone will cost 1 or 2 million, and it is also inconvenient to clean. It's better to have a smaller house. Listening to Yang Jinyu's Versailles words, Zhang Shui really wanted to say, "Come on, I know you are happy, don't be so ungrateful." But she didn't have the courage to say this. The Yang Jinyu family is different now because of Li Yuan. The wine lasted until after 9 o'clock in the evening before it was barely over. Bai Tianliang, Heji, the old man, and the father-in-law Bai Tiankai were all drunk and had to lean on the wall to walk. Fortunately, they all lived near the 4th middle school and were very familiar with each other, so they all got home safely. Li Yuan himself was also drunk and his head was confused. Because he had been sitting in the plane and car all day, his body was a little tired, and the alcohol and sleepiness came directly to him. "Brother, why did you drink so much? Let me help you go to the house to sleep." Bai Wuxi also saw Li Yuan drunk for the first time, and felt very distressed. She took the initiative to hold Li Yuan's body and helped him into her bedroom. Yang Jinyu frowned when she saw this scene, but said nothing. Tonight, 5 grown men were all drunk. Look, Bai Tiankai has already fallen asleep on the sofa. Let it be, anyway, Wuxi and him have been like that for a long time. It's already this time, it's not convenient for him to live outside, and it's not safe. Yang Jinyu muttered, watching Bai Wuxi hold Li Yuan into her daughter's boudoir. Li Yuan actually still had a little consciousness, and could feel Bai Wuxi beside him, holding him to the bed. Lying on the small bed in Bai Wuxi's boudoir, smelling the special fragrance on the bed, Li Yuan smiled foolishly, and felt that his shoes were taken off, and his socks were also taken off. After a while, a pair of feet were put into a hot basin of water by a pair of warm little hands, and gently rubbed. Li Yuan had a vague consciousness in his mind. "Xiaobai, is she washing my feet?" Li Yuan wanted to open his eyes and take a look at Bai Wuxi, who was washing his feet. This white moonlight of 2 lives, the woman he once loved but could not get, hated and loved. At this moment, she was gently washing his feet. Is this really not a dream? But he really couldn't open his eyes, as if there was a shackle sewing his eyes. After a while, after washing his feet, Li Yuan felt a pair of warm little hands holding a wet towel and gently wiping his face and neck. Li Yuan also fell asleep under the dual effects of alcohol and sleepiness. After Bai Wuxi gently helped Li Yuan wash his face, she looked at Li Yuan lying on the bed, and didn't know what she thought of. Her pretty face suddenly blushed and she murmured shyly, "Brother, if you can always stay with me, I will take care of you like my mother takes care of my father. It would be great to be your wife. Let's have 2 more babies, preferably twins. He will be too lonely with only one child. Then, our family of 4 will live together, grow up with them, see the scenery around the world together, and experience the romantic atmosphere. Biwixi muttered to himself, thinking about the scenes in his mind, and couldn't help but be a little dazed. After a long time. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 502. Biwixi came back to her senses, looking at the man who had fallen into deep sleep on the bed, with a slightly heavy nasal sound, and sighed softly, feeling particularly complicated. Sometimes. She was also doubting herself. Could she really accept that the lover she had given everything for was also in love with other women? However, she did not dare to imagine how she would regret if she really left Li Yuan. Biwixi's eyes revealed a trace of confusion. This afternoon, her parents, who had always loved her, said such harsh and unpleasant words. Wasn't her heart touched at all? No. At that moment, her heart was also touched, and her body could not help shaking. She was also a girl who was loved by everyone, from childhood to adulthood, and had never suffered a little bit of hardship, and was liked by everyone. In the 3 years of high school alone, she had received more than 80 love letters, if not 100. However, she rejected everyone else for the man in front of her. Even after entering university. In the School of Finance and other colleges, there are many male classmates of the same year, as well as some seniors, who are actively pursuing her. But she also rejected them for the man in front of her. Biwixi thought a lot, and thought of the story of last life that Li Yuan said. The eyes gradually became firm from confusion. Brother, in the last life, I don't know why, and I don't know what happened between us after entering university, which caused me to hurt you so deeply. But in this life, no matter what happens, no matter who opposes, I will not take the initiative to leave you. Unless, one day, you really don't want me anymore. When that time comes, I will leave you silently. Brother, I really love you very much. But I really don't feel safe. I am afraid of all this, just like what you said, it's like a dream, I don't know when this dream will wake up. Biwixi looked at Li Yuan's face, a pair of clear and beautiful eyes, full of affection, faintly flashing with crystal tears. She gently unbuttoned Li Yuan's clothes, turned over Li Yuan's heavy body, and helped him take off his coat and pants. Smelly brother, why are you so heavy? Biwixi had never expected that Li Yuan would be so heavy after being drunk. She helped Li Yuan turn over and took off his clothes, and was sweating profusely. Looking at the majestic little Li Yuan, Biwixi couldn't help but think of the happy times when they explored the origin of human life together. Her pretty face suddenly turned red, with a dazed look on her face. Biwixi bit her lips lightly, secretly glanced at the bedroom door, and saw that the door was tightly closed. She breathed a sigh of relief and became bolder. She stretched out her hand with a slight tremor, and touched the little Li Yuan who had been measured many times in person. Then, she took out a warm wet towel and wiped it gently. Outside the room. In the living room, Yang Jinyu faced the drunk Bai Tiankai, and her approach was completely different from Biwixi's. She just helped Bai Tiankai lie down on the sofa, then took a quilt and covered him, turned on the air conditioner, adjusted the temperature to prevent him from freezing. After doing all this, she was busy washing the pots and pans and sorting out the leftovers. When everything was done, it was already 10:30 in the evening. Seeing that her daughter had not come out of the bedroom, Yang Jinyu frowned and came to Biwixi's bedroom door. After listening, there was no strange sound coming from the bedroom. Yang Jinyu suddenly laughed at herself. What am I thinking about? Li Yuan drank so much and was unconscious a long time ago. Xiaobai should not be asleep yet. Yang Jinyu knocked on the door. Ziobai, are you asleep? Inside, Bai Wixi's slightly flustered voice suddenly came. Mom, I'm ready to sleep, what's wrong? Yang Jinyu heard that Bai Wixi was ready to sleep, so she could only stop the idea of having a good chat with her baby daughter and told her. Oh, then you go to sleep, keep an eye on Li Yuan at night, and prepare some tea. Bai Wixi wiped her mouth, calmed down, and replied in a low voice. Mom, I know. Yang Jinyu, well, go to sleep. Good night. After seeing her mother outside the door leave, Bai Wixi hurriedly covered little Li Yuan with a quilt, biting her lips with a red face. Just when she was bathing little Li Yuan, she suddenly thought of a strange idea and wanted to try whether Li Yuan could stand up when he was drunk. After her personal test, she found that little Li Yuan could actually stand up, which surprised her very much, and then she was overjoyed. Since returning from Shanghai on the morning of January 22, she had not had close contact with Li Yuan for 3 days. Bai Wixi bit her lip, sat next to Li Yuan, and said to herself. Fortunately, I cleverly locked the door from the inside, otherwise, if my mother suddenly broke in and saw this scene, I would be so embarrassed. Being shocked by her mother, Bai Wixi did not dare to continue to take advantage of Li Yuan's sleep to attack, sitting by the bed, secretly in a daze. Suddenly, she felt the sound of a mobile phone vibrating on the bed. This is not my phone has a ringtone. Following the source of the vibration, Bai Wixi took out Li Yuan's mobile phone from his pants pocket. Looking at the incoming call information displayed on it, Bai Wixi hesitated in her heart, not knowing whether to answer it or not. Because, the name of Zhong Tingyu was displayed on the incoming call information. After thinking about it, Bai Wixi chose to answer it. As soon as the call was connected, Zhong Tingyu's slightly coquettish tone came over the other side of the phone. Stinky Senior, do you miss me? Bai Wixi felt very strange. Zhong Tingyu, who looked very cold and aloof outside, was very coquettish and cute in front of Li Yuan, full of a cute and sassy little woman's breath. This is probably the performance of a woman in love. Will show the softest, most emotional, and most gentle side to the other party without any cover-up. Bai Wixi calmed down and spoke gently, Tingyu, it's me. Zhong Tingyu, who was on the other side, was stunned when she heard that it was Bai Wixi who answered the phone. She paused for a moment and spoke again after a while. Wixi, are you with Li Yuan now? Bai Wixi nodded and explained, well, he came to my house for dinner today, got drunk, and fell asleep. Hearing that Li Yuan was drunk, Zhong Tingyu was very worried. He was drunk? Why did he drink so much? Bai Wixi said a little embarrassedly, he came to my house today, and my dad and others drank with him and drank too much. Oh, Zhong Tingyu said lightly, oh, and reminded, then Tingyu, take care of him more at night, don't catch a cold. Bai Wixi also said lightly, and replied, got it, I turned on the air conditioner. After a pause, Bai Wixi took the initiative to ask, Tingyu, are you still in Shanghai now? Zhong Tingyu nodded, yes, my mother came to Shanghai to spend the new year with me. Bai Wixi asked in surprise, just you and aunt? Zhong Tingyu answered slightly bitterly, yes. Tingyu, when will you return to Shanghai after the new year? Bai Wixi, I don't know, maybe a little later. However, Li Yuan should go back earlier. Zhong Tingyu smiled. This was Li Yuan's promise to her to return to Shanghai to accompany her earlier. It's getting late, Tingyu, you should rest early. I wish you and your uncle and aunt a happy new year in advance. Bai Wixi also smiled and replied, yes, you too, Tingyu, happy new year. Bye. After hanging up the phone, Bai Wixi looked at the call record with Zhong Tingyu and was secretly dazed. As for Zhong Tingyu and Xia's Haijin, these two girls, even if they can be said from some level, They should be the kind of water and fire rivals in love. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 503. Perhaps, most of the classmates and friends who knew the situation also thought so. However, she really couldn't hate these two rivals. Their personalities were really good. Bai Wuxi took Li Yuan's mobile phone. As long as she wanted, she could check all the secrets in Li Yuan's mobile phone at any time. But without any hesitation, she quietly put Li Yuan's mobile phone on the desk beside her. Then, she looked at the sleeping Li Yuan, opened his arms, took off her clothes, lay on the bed, rested her head on Li Yuan's arms, put her arms around Li Yuan's chest, smiled at the corners of her mouth, and soon fell asleep. At night. At some point, Li Yuan felt his drowsy head suddenly wake up and feel a little thirsty. I drank too much last night, and my head is confused. Li Yuan felt his arm being rested by the beauty in his arms, and thought to himself. Am I sleeping on Xiaobai's bed? He reached out and touched it. It was still the familiar body, but in underwear. In the darkness, with the help of the faint moonlight that came through the gap in the curtains, he looked at Bai Wuxi who was sleeping soundly. In his mind, Li Yuan instinctively recalled what happened last night. After getting drunk, he was helped into the room by Bai Wuxi. Then, it seemed that she also washed his face, feet, and body. In addition, it seemed that Li Yuan touched little Li Yuan, and his little brother seemed to have been taken care of. Li Yuan was drunk and sleepy. When he couldn't sleep, he smiled slightly, stretched out his claws, and directly teased Xiao Bai Xiongda and Xiong Er. After not seeing each other for a few days, the naughty Xiongda and Xiong Er were tightly wrapped in underwear again, and they were not exposed to the sun, and were anxiously waiting for their rescue. Bai Wuxi was also awakened by the game between Li Yuan and Xiongda and Xiong Er. She didn't drink, but because she was worried that Li Yuan drank too much and was afraid that he would feel uncomfortable, she kept thinking about this matter in her heart, and didn't dare to sleep too deeply. When people are paying special attention to one thing, they will be easily awakened. Bai Wuxi felt Li Yuan's big hand moving around on her body. She opened her eyes in confusion and asked, "Brother, are you awake?" Li Yuan whispered, "Yes, I am sober. I drank too much last night." As he said that, Li Yuan's hand did not stop and began to invade the crystal. Bai Wuxi moaned and quickly closed her eyes. She took the initiative to hug Li Yuan's arm and cooperated with Li Yuan's actions. Bai Wuxi suppressed her voice, pursed her lips with a blurred look, and her S-shaped body swayed rhythmically under the faint moonlight. She whispered, "Brother, please move gently. My parents are next door. I am afraid they will hear it." Li Yuan smiled, "It's okay. It's late at night." In the middle of the night, they had already fallen asleep. After that, he implanted himself into the wall to explore the mystery of the origin of human life. Under the moonlight, a graceful and perfect body, swaying with the starlight, rang out a light and pleasant chant. In this scene, Li Yuan suddenly remembered a few lyrics in his mind. "Forget, forget, forget, sway with my rhythm. Sway, shake, shake again, the faint light. All the same, all the mortals are confused. Desire fills the skin, fleeing on the edge of the dream. Petals fall, like the sound under the clouds. Challenge my nerves, test my sobriety. The rain has just fallen, and it has been intertwined and merged. We are greedy, innocent evil." Chapter 286. Li Yuan receives red envelopes, the respective situations of his girlfriends. In the master bedroom next door. In the middle of the night, With the rhythmic swaying and erotic whispers coming from Bai Wuxi's bedroom, Yang Jinyu, who was also worried, was also awakened. In this kind of old community, the sound insulation of the houses is very poor. If there is a slight sound, it can be heard next door. She leaned against the wall in a daze, and after a brief listening, she understood what was happening in the bedroom next door. Hey, being young is good. Yang Jinyu sighed in her heart, her charming face was stained with a hint of blush, and her body felt strange. After Bai Tiankai got older, his needs in that aspect were far less vigorous than when he was young. Many times, she could only do it herself and have enough food and clothing. Yang Jinyu suddenly thought boldly that since Li Yuan had multiple girlfriends at the same time, his needs in that aspect should be particularly strong, right? He was tall and strong, full of muscles. Could Xiaobai's small body really bear it? Yang Jinyu suddenly had wild thoughts in her mind. Listening to the lewd music next door, her body became hotter and hotter, and she couldn't help but reach out her hand. This lewd music didn't stop until a long time later, when it was dawn. The next day, when Li Yuan woke up, it was already past 9 in the morning. In Bai Wuxi's boudoir, after shaking the bed for a long time, he hugged the beauty in his arms and continued to fall asleep until now. Bai Yueguang beside him had quietly got up and disappeared. On the bedside desk, there was a constant temperature kettle and teacup placed intimately. After drinking too much white wine, you will be particularly thirsty. Today is New Year's Eve, time flies so fast. Li Yuan muttered, feeling that time passed really quickly. More than 7 months have passed since my rebirth on June 10, 2008 to January 25, 2009. In these 7 months, many things have happened. It is even richer and more exciting than all my previous lives combined. I met a lot of people, accomplished a lot of things, made a lot of money, and experienced different scenery. From the time just after the college entrance examination, I went to write novels, buy football, buy stocks, fill out my application for the college entrance examination, take the driving license test, buy a house in Shanghai, register and establish a company, recruitment, military training, get to know Zhongtingyu, Xiaozhaijin, Zhangzhou, research and development games, developing websites, building milk tea companies, writing songs, performing. It turns out that I have done so many things without knowing it, and my daily schedule is fully arranged. Li Yuan muttered secretly in his heart. The time since my rebirth has been very busy, but also extremely exciting. If you have any regrets, that's only one regret. Li Yuan looked leisurely towards the north. Will she miss him there too? Maybe, or maybe I have forgotten myself. After all, it has been 4 or 5 months since she left quietly. Li Yuan got dressed. I poured a cup of tea to moisten my dry throat. Sitting on the edge of the bed. When I took out my phone, I saw a call log and many missed calls. Zhongtingyu, Xiaozhaijin, Qi Siyu, Suji, Wang Shui, Wang Zhirong, etc. At a glance, there are many call records. There was even Chu Yanyan's. In addition to missed calls, there are naturally many more text messages sending New Year greetings, hundreds of them, or even more. They were all college classmates, such as Lucia, Wu Hao, Renjun, Li Lanrong, Gao Xian, and several roommates of Bai Wuxi and Zhongtingyu. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 504. There are even more high school classmates, and almost every classmate in the class has sent me a message. The contents are all the same, they are all New Year greeting messages. By the way, they ask if he has returned to his hometown and if he has time to get together. Besides, there are also blessing messages sent by some friends I know, such as Ma Tangfei, Yu Wengxuan, Wu Wenhui, Su Yunting, Hu Zhenqiang, Xiezheng, Jin Chen Chen, Lu Shishi, Dilmurat Dilraba, etc. Although the Spring Festival will be next year, this year is New Year's Eve. On New Year's Eve, many people have already begun to pay New Year's greetings in advance. Looking at so many New Year greeting messages, Li Yuan smiled inadvertently. This is probably the trouble after becoming famous. Employees of the two companies, college classmates, high school classmates, business partners, and even many strangers, as long as they know their mobile phone numbers, they will basically send New Year greetings messages. Li Yuan first called Xia's Haijin back. As soon as I dialed, the call was answered immediately. Li Yuan took the initiative to speak. Haijin, do you miss me? Yeah, I missed you. The sound on Xia's Haijin's side seemed a little noisy, and a large family could be vaguely heard together. I miss you too, Li Yuan asked again, are you still celebrating the Chinese New Year with grandma this year? Xia's Haijin nodded, yes, this year several uncles and the whole family are also spending the New Year with us in the mountain city. Li Yuan was a little surprised. When he was chatting with Xia's Haijin before, he heard her say that she either celebrated the New Year with the old lady and Anning, or she took turns celebrating the New Year at several uncles' houses. Unexpectedly, this year we will celebrate the New Year together as a whole family. Although the relationship between Xia's Haijin's three uncles is not incompatible, they are not as close as imagined. This is the situation where most of them have many sons, and they are already married and have children. Just like Li Yuan's own family, there are 4 brothers, father and brother. As the third eldest brother, Li Hong does not have a very happy relationship with the second uncle's family. Of course, these are all historical issues left over from the older generation, and there is no deep hatred. Their relationship is still quite good. Li Yuan smiled and said, that's good. It will be more lively when the whole family is together. Xia's Haijin replied sweetly, yes, it's really lively. We are making dumplings together. Li Yuan joked, haha, the dumplings made by Haijin must be delicious. Then, when we get back to Magic City, I'll make dumplings for you to eat, okay? Xia's Haijin's tone was very happy. Li Yuan nodded quickly, then I'll wait. Li Yuan suddenly remembered something again and reminded with a smile. By the way, Haijin, the bank card I left for you was in your name, and another 5 million in cash was transferred to you. The password is your birthday. During the Chinese New Year, give more to grandma and Ning, please buy more things for your family, don't be afraid of spending money. I can make money. When buying the car, Li Yuan had already transferred 2 million to Xia's Haijin's bank card. She only spent more than 1 million to buy a Mercedes-Benz AMG Coupe. Before leaving for the mountain city, he transferred 5 million to Xia's Haijin's bank card, but he did not tell her in advance. Li Yuan himself also knew that Xia's Haijin had grown up with her grandmother and could not feel maternal love. For some reasons, she might not be taken seriously in the eyes of her relatives. But now, he wanted this poor girl to enjoy the love and affection from her relatives around her. Even if this kind of love and affection is obtained with money. But he has plenty of money. As long as Xia's Haijin and Xia's Haining are happy, the money will be well spent. To whom are flowers not flowers? When Xia's Haijin heard that Li Yuan had transferred another 5 million to her card, she was shocked and quickly refused. Li Yuan, I still have money. The last time I bought a car, I had more than 700,000 left. And the pocket money you usually give me and my salary add up to more than 1 million. It doesn't cost that much. Li Yuan said distressedly, silly girl, I work hard to make money just for you guys to spend. If you are not willing to spend money, then why should I waste so much money? Tell me, does what I say make sense? But, I really don't need it. Xia's Haijin was confused. What Li Yuan said seemed to make sense, but she couldn't spend all the money. In normal times, she has tried her best to spend money. She will buy a lot of snacks and fruits for her roommates, and occasionally bring them meals. When they go shopping together, she often pays. But even so, she can only spend 7 or 8,000 a month at most, and she doesn't like luxuries that often cost tens of thousands. Even if I go shopping, I only buy a few items when I go shopping with Li Yuan, or occasionally when I go shopping with Zhong Tingyu. Li Yuan continued to teach Xia Zhaijin how to spend money, and Dun Dun taught. Zhaijin, isn't it New Year's Day tomorrow? Take some more cash, give it to Grandma, and then ask Grandma to send you all a big red envelope. Won't this bring out the New Year atmosphere? You can also buy more fireworks and the like. A whole rain of fireworks is also very beautiful. By the way, the mountain city shouldn't be allowed to set off, right? Also, take Anning and your cousins with you to go shopping in the mountain city. You can go to the amusement park, go shopping, buy clothes, etc. However, you must pay attention to safety. Listening to Li Yuan teach her how to spend money, Xia Zhaijin was so moved that she wanted to cry. Li Yuan, thank you, I miss you so much. Li Yuan listened to the longing in the treasure girl's words, and suddenly he missed this silly girl thousands of miles away. Silly girl, I miss you too. After the new year, I will pick you up and we will go back to the magic city together. Yeah, I'll wait for you. After hanging up the call with Xia Zhaijin, Li Yuan called Zhong Tingyu again. Before Li Yuan could speak, Zhong Tingyu's slightly sour voice rang on the other end of the phone. Hey, senior, are you up from the gentle village? Li Yuan felt a little weird. How did Little Moon know that he had just gotten up from the gentle village? Good morning, Little Moon. Why do you smell lemon so early in the morning? Zhong Tingyu snorted arrogantly, who told a certain bastard to not take the initiative to make a video for several days. Humph, I really have unrequited love. Touch the poor, helpless little moon, and no one will hurt or love it. Li Yuan smiled coquettishly, thinking that when he was in the mountain city, he would stay with Xia Zhaijin. When he was in his hometown, he stayed with Bai Wuxi peacefully. So there was no video chat with Zhong Tingyu. Li Yuan smiled mischievously, we haven't seen each other for a few days, but you still miss me so much. Wait a few days and I'll go back to the magic city to pamper you. When Zhong Tingyu heard that Li Yuan was going back to the magic city in a few days, she immediately looked forward to it and asked quickly. Senior, when will you come back? I've been missing a certain big bad guy so much. Li Yuan calculated the time and came back yesterday at 29. Today is New Year's Eve and he will definitely celebrate the New Year at home with his parents. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, I celebrate the New Year at home, get together with my grandparents, uncles, and cousins to pay New Year greetings, and then attend a fellows gathering. If you are in the second grade of junior high school, you may have to go with your mother to visit relatives at your grandparents' house. In the third year of junior high school, several children from my uncle's family will come to visit relatives. Li Yuan smiled and replied, it depends on the time. I can go back on the fourth day of the Lunar New Year at the earliest. If it is later, I will wait until the sixth day of the Lunar New Year. Zhong Tingyu counted the time and said with some sadness, the earliest is the fourth day of the Lunar New Year, the latest is the sixth day of the Lunar New Year, there are still many days. Senior, I really miss you so much, I really want to fly over to find you right away. Hee, if I came to find you now, would you be surprised or frightened? Of course it's a surprise. Li Yuan smiled. I miss you too. When I get to the Magic City, I will accompany you well. I only go home once a year to celebrate the New Year. It's not good to leave in a hurry. But don't worry, little moon, I will try my best to go back to find you as soon as possible. Zhong Tingyu chuckled, yeah, I understand. You can celebrate the New Year at home with peace of mind. Pay attention to safety when driving and don't drink and drive. By the way, don't drink so much next time. People are really worried about you. Li Yuan asked in surprise, "Little Moon, how do you know that I drank a lot last night?" Zhong Tingyu chuckled, "Hee, guess." After ending the call with Zhong Tingyu, Li Yuan glanced at the communication records. Only then did I discover that at around 10 o'clock last night, there was a communication record with Zhong Tingyu on my phone, which lasted for about 7 or 8 minutes. Li Yuan suddenly realized that at that time last night, he was already drunk and fell asleep in bed. It turns out it was Xiaobai who answered the call. Judging from Xiaoyu's tone, there shouldn't be any conflict between them, right? Li Yuan was not very worried about the relationship between Bai Wuxi and Zhong Tingyu. When they were in Shanghai, they often chatted and went shopping together, just like they were best friends in their previous lives. After learning about the current situation of the two girlfriends, Li Yuan casually flipped through the text messages and QQ messages received on his phone. Some are daily New Year blessing messages, while others have different meanings. For example, the text message sent by the sexy instructor Chi Siyu made Li Yuan suddenly feel excited. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 505. Li Mumuo, Happy New Year. I have arrived at my hometown. Let me tell you a news. My parents forced me to go on a blind date, but I said I already have a boyfriend. Hee, guess what I said who? Looking at the message sent by Chi Siyu, Li Yuan sighed quietly. Thinking of Chi Siyu's voice, appearance, graceful figure, mature body, and 2 pairs of warm and moist mouths, something strange suddenly arose in my heart. Chi Siyu also came home very late, only going back the day before Li Yuan went to Shancheng. She has been waiting for herself, wanting to accompany her once and go shopping with her for the new year. But Li Yuan was really busy these days and couldn't spare any time. This was the first time Chi Siyu sent him a message after many days. If it weren't for this news, he would have thought Chi Siyu had forgotten about him. No, I should say, I forgot about her. Li Yuan thought for a while and sent back a message. Teacher Siyu, Happy New Year. After the new year, I'll go back to Magic City early and I've prepared a little surprise for you. As soon as Li Yuan's message was sent out, Chi Siyu had already replied within 10 seconds. Hey, someone still remembers me as a teacher, and still has time to reply to messages. I thought you were abducted by aliens and sent back to celebrate the new year. Li Yuan looked at Chi Siyu's reply and his eyes were full of the word grievance. That's right, maybe, in Chi Siyu's heart, he is her real boyfriend. But this boyfriend has not taken the initiative to have any contact with her for 5 or 6 days. Even now that it's Chinese New Year, I don't know how to take the initiative to call and contact you. It would be strange if I'm still full of joy. Li Yuan replied, Siyu, you also know that I have been very busy recently. After the new year, I will make up for you properly, see message page. Soon, Chi Siyu responded again, huh, you bad guy, if you don't ignore me anymore, I really promise my parents to go on a blind date. Maybe, I can meet a handsome guy like you. Before Li Yuan could reply, Chi Siyu sent another message. Compensation? How are you going to compensate me? Hee, are you planning to make me unable to get out of bed? Shy JPG. Looking at Chi Siyu's reply, Li Yuan smiled slightly and said to himself. It seems that this sexy lady is really horny. It's right to think about it, Chi Siyu is just 25 years old this year, which is the most mature age in a woman's life. Compared with girls who have just come of age like Bai Wuxi and Xia's Haijin, they are much more sexy and mature. And compared with those older leftover women who are over 30 years old, they are much more lively than girls. When they are together, they are completely like a sexually aware and mature royal sister, and they are very comfortable together. Now, because Li Yuan has just broken the shackles of life, it is like a newly unearthed seedling that needs the nourishment and cultivation of nutrient solution, So the demand is very strong. Li Yuan chuckled and replied quickly, "Don't worry, teacher Siyu, I will definitely satisfy you. You still don't understand my abilities." After a while, Chi Siyu replied, "Hee, I'll wait then. I'm really looking forward to it. Little man, shy JPG, sticker JPG." After chatting with Chi Siyu for a few words, Li Yuan picked up some important information and responded to them all. Just after replying to the message sent by Chu Yanyan, Li Yuan heard the bedroom door open, and Bai Wuxi walked in with a glowing face. After Li Yuan's hard work last night to nourish and fertilize, and cultivate it with a large amount of nutrient solution, the color of this budding white lily is even brighter. Bai Wuxi said sweetly, "Brother, are you awake?" Li Yuan smiled and nodded, "Well, I just woke up." Bai Wuxi came to Li Yuan and said, "My mother has already made breakfast. Get up and have breakfast. I went to the supermarket and bought you a new toothbrush, teacup, and towel. You go and wash up first. Facial cleanser and moisturizing lotion are all ready for you." Listening to Bai Wuxi so considerately preparing toiletries for himself, Li Yuan smiled knowingly, stretched out his hand to rub her face, and said with a smile, "Baby, you are so considerate and well behaved." Bai Wuxi really enjoyed squinting her eyes and enjoying Li Yuan's head-touching killing. "Take a shower and have breakfast." Li Yuan looked at the time. It was almost 10 o'clock in the morning. Today is New Year's Eve, and I need to eat at home at noon. After lunch, we have to go to the fields to visit the graves with the young and old men at home. Therefore, Li Yuan proposed to leave. After the drinking party last night, Bai Tiankai's attitude towards Li Yuan was no longer so harsh, but much gentler, and he seemed to have thought about it. "Xiao Yuan, then we won't keep you." Yang Jinyu didn't insist on staying. Today is New Year's Eve, so everyone basically has to go back to their respective homes to celebrate the new year. Li Yuan came last night. Even if he had come to pay New Year greetings in advance, it would be a bit inappropriate to stay to celebrate the new year today on New Year's Eve. She took out a red envelope from her down jacket pocket, handed it to Li Yuan, and said with a smile, "Xiao Yuan, this is a little thought from uncle and aunt, don't think it's too little." Li Yuan looked at the red envelope handed over by Yang Jinyu, looking a little surprised, and asked, "Aunt Yang, what is this?" Yang Jinyu thought that Li Yuan didn't understand the meaning, so he explained with a smile. "Xiao Yuan, this is the rule here in my hometown. When the future son-in-law comes to visit, he must give a red envelope as a bonus." After hearing Yang Jinyu's explanation, Li Yuan suddenly understood. In his previous life, he had never been married and had never received such a red envelope. Unexpectedly, in this life, he had just turned 19 and had already received such a red envelope with the nature of engagement. Li Yuan looked at his mother-in-law's eyes and Bai Tiankai's eyes beside him, and hesitated slightly in his heart. Under Bai Wuxi's teasing eyes, he accepted the first special red envelope in his life. "Thank you, uncle and aunt." Li Yuan held the red envelope, which contained about 10,000 yuan. In this era, in this small county, it was actually a lot. However, although this little money was nothing to him, it could also reflect the importance that Bai Wuxi's parents attached to him. Seeing Li Yuan accept the red envelope, Yang Jinyu and Bai Tiankai looked at each other and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. In the morning, when Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi had not yet gotten up, the couple had already discussed in advance. In the end, they still felt that this was Li Yuan's first formal visit. According to the local customs, if they were satisfied with Li Yuan, they had to give a red envelope. Otherwise, even if Li Yuan himself is not surprised, if Li Yuan's parents or relatives and friends know about it, they will also make comments behind his back. Yang Jinyu looked at Li Yuan, then looked at her rosy-faced baby daughter, and casually mentioned it. "Xiaobai, are you staying at home with your dad for the new year, or going to Li Yuan's house for the new year. When Yang Jinyu said this, not only Li Yuan was stunned, but Bai Wuxi, the person involved, was also stunned. She never expected that her father would say such a thing. On New Year's Eve, let her go home with Li Yuan for the new year. Bai Wuxi looked at the stunned Li Yuan, and suddenly felt a little nervous, and had an inexplicable expectation. She looked at her mother shyly, hesitantly opened her mouth, and confirmed. "Ah, Mom, can I go?" Yang Jinyu looked at Bai Wuxi's expression, knew what she was thinking, and sighed secretly. My daughter has grown up, and she is no longer staying. However, this was the result of her discussion with Bai Tiankai. Of course, it was just a casual mention, and it all depends on Bai Wuxi's own thoughts. Of course, you two are in this relationship, so it's okay to go to Li Yuan's house for the new year. After getting Yang Jinyu's confirmation, Bai Wuxi's face was shy and mixed with joy, and she turned her eyes to Li Yuan. Those eyes full of expectation seemed to ask whether Li Yuan agreed to her going home to celebrate the new year together. Looking at Bai Wuxi's eyes, how else could Li Yuan answer? At this time, if he refused, he had no doubt that his father-in-law, who seemed to have softened his attitude, would immediately run to the kitchen and chop with a knife. Of course, Li Yuan said with a smile. Bai Wuxi glanced at Li Yuan, then at her mother who seemed to be smiling, and at her father who was sitting calmly, as if it had nothing to do with him. Bai Wuxi replied shyly in a low voice, then I will celebrate the new year with Li Yuan. Yang Jinyu nodded, okay, Xiaobai, pack up first and go back with Li Yuan. Your father and I will go back to our hometown this year to celebrate the new year with your grandparents. By the way, there is no rush to come back today, you can let Li Yuan take you back tomorrow. Li Yuan was even more surprised. Was his mother-in-law going to push Bai Wuxi into his arms? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 506. Or is it? Li Yuan was a little confused. A girl spent the new year at the man's house and stayed there. To outsiders, this was already a quasi-couple relationship. In his hometown, it was usually possible to do this after giving the bride price, 3 golds, and getting the birth date. However, although he didn't understand what his mother-in-law and father-in-law were thinking, Li Yuan didn't object. It's more comfortable to sleep with a beautiful woman in your arms at night than to sleep alone, right? Chapter 287 Other People's Children. Li Yuan. Watching the baby daughter pack up, she drove away with Li Yuan with a smile, as if there was no nostalgia or reluctance. Bai Tiankai said with a somewhat inexplicable feeling. Jinyu, just let Li Yuan take Xiaobai away like this. Yang Jinyu glanced at Bai Tiankai with a complicated expression, knowing his thoughts, and couldn't help curling her lips and teasing. What's wrong? Can't bear to let go. Jealous? Do you feel that your beloved baby has been taken away by someone else? Bai Tiankai was choked and hummed in dissatisfaction. I just think that their relationship is progressing a little too fast. Yang Jinyu snorted coldly, if you don't hurry up, your baby girl's position may be taken away by someone else. Is it more important to celebrate the new year with you, or your baby girl's lifelong happiness? Besides, it's just a meal during the new year. Xiaobai has been eating with us for 18 years. If we don't eat together today, we will have one less piece of meat. Listening to his wife's teasing, Bai Tiankai frowned and said nothing, feeling helpless in his heart. If his precious daughter had a little hesitation and considered leaving Li Yuan, he would support her without hesitation. However, his silly daughter, a precious daughter who had been excellent in both character and learning since childhood and was very well behaved and obedient. was confused in this matter and stubbornly insisted on her own opinion. As an old father, he could only respect his daughter's opinion. He didn't want his daughter to break off the father-daughter relationship with him because of this matter. After all, his wife did this. However, he was not as good as Li Yuan, nor as fickle as Li Yuan. He had always loved his wife who had suffered with him from beginning to end. Old Bai, don't worry about it, let's go back to our hometown. Yang Jinyu looked at Bai Tiankai with a tangled expression, and was speechless in her heart. Her daughter and Li Yuan already had such a relationship, and Li Yuan's current status and position were extraordinary. At this time, she should take the initiative to help her daughter and fight for a favorable position, instead of dragging her daughter's back. She saw it more thoroughly than anyone else. Li Yuan and his daughter were high school classmates, and they have a deep emotional foundation. The distance between the two families is so close, which is a great advantage. Didn't you see that Li Yuan obviously has several girlfriends, but he only brought his daughter back? What does this show? This shows that in Li Yuan's heart, his daughter's status is higher than other women. At this time, as long as his daughter often appears in front of Li Yuan's relatives and gets familiar with his parents and family, wouldn't her future status be slowly established? Now on New Year's Eve, letting his daughter go directly to Li Yuan's house to celebrate the New Year is the most correct step to get closer. As for celebrating the New Year with herself, she didn't care so much. They have been together for 18 years, so what if 1 year is not celebrated? Li Yuan drove the BMW X6 with Bai Wuxi, who looked excited and a little nervous. Along the way, Bai Wuxi kept chattering. "Brother, if I go to your house to celebrate the New Year today, will uncle and aunt be unhappy?" "Of course not, they will definitely be very happy." "Then are we going to celebrate the New Year with your other relatives?" "There are so many people in your family, I'm a little nervous." "Why are you nervous?" "I'm here, don't worry." "Then let's go to the supermarket and buy more vegetables." "Hee, although I can't cook, I can help wash and pick vegetables and help Aunt." "Let Aunt teach me to cook in the future, and I'll cook for you, okay?" "Okay, it's good to like cooking. In the future, you will feed me." "Hee, Zhaijan's cooking is delicious, right? I've eaten it several times." "I'll ask her to teach me after the New Year. It's just that Sichuan cuisine is a bit too spicy. I'm not used to it, and I'm afraid of getting angry." "It's okay to eat it occasionally." While the two were chatting, Li Yuan first called his parents in advance to tell them that Bai Wuxi would stay with him at home for the New Year and prepare more meals. On the other end of the phone, Xiaqin was very surprised and joked. "You came back at noon today? I thought you were celebrating the New Year at Xiaobai's house." Li Yuan smiled awkwardly. "Didn't you come yesterday?" "Xiaobai and I are going back today." "We are going to the supermarket." Xiaqin nodded. "Going to the supermarket? That's fine, you can buy a few more hard dishes from the county. Your father said that our whole family will celebrate the New Year together at our house this year. His brothers want to drink a little." Li Yuan asked in surprise. "Celebrate the New Year together as a family?" Xiaqin, "Well, our house is big anyway. When your father was renovating it, he specially bought a super large table that can seat 20 to 30 people." Li Yuan, "Oh, that's good, it's more lively. Brother Chow and I haven't gotten together for a long time." Xiaqin, "We went to the street early in the morning to buy vegetables, including pepper chicken, roast duck, blackfish, goose, goya. You can just buy some and come back quickly." Li Yuan nodded. "Yes, I understand, we will go back in a while." "Hang up the phone with my mother." Bai Wuxi, who was listening quietly on the side, looked very nervous. "Brother, do you and your family want to have dinner together at noon?" Li Yuan joked. "Yeah, what, are you scared?" Bai Wuxi nodded his head and said timidly, "One thing, there are so many people at once." Li Yuan smiled and said, ugly wives are afraid of meeting their parents-in-law. You are so beautiful, so there is nothing to be afraid of. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Bai Wuxi smiled sweetly, yeah, brother. The two of them came to Trust Mart supermarket, ready to buy some more high-quality vegetables, fruits, snacks, etc. When the two of them were shopping in the supermarket, suddenly, a slightly surprised voice came over. Li Yuan? Bai Wuxi. Li Yuan followed the direction of the sound and turned his head to look. Then he saw the head teacher Wang Hongguang and a middle-aged woman beside him, pushing a shopping cart and excitedly walking towards Li Yuan and the other two. Li Yuan looked surprised and shouted, home teacher. Wang Hongguang came to Li Yuan, looked at Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi, who looked like a young couple, and said with a smile. Li Yuan, Bai Wuxi, it's really you two, I'm not blinded. Bai Wuxi saw his high school teacher suddenly appearing in front of him. Suddenly, his face was blushing shyly, and he let go of Li Yuan's arm with some embarrassment. It's like a pair of students secretly falling in love, but were suddenly caught by their class teacher. Especially, Bai Wuxi had just entered college, and her expression had not completely changed from that of a high school student. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 507. She called out timidly. Teacher Wu, the head teacher. Wang Hongguang looked at Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi and joked. When I was in high school, I felt that your relationship was not right, as if you were in love. I didn't expect that you two were really in love. Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. Those who can be high school head teachers are not only smart, but also have high emotional intelligence. After the second semester of the second year of high school, every time when choosing seats according to grades, Bai Wuxi, who was firmly in first place, would choose first. After Bai Wuxi made her choice, Li Yuan, who was in the top 5, would take the initiative to choose to sit with Bai Wuxi. It was okay once or twice, but for more than a year, as long as the head teacher was not a fool, he could see that there was something wrong with the two of them. However, Bai Wuxi's grades have been steadily improving, and he has long been the first in the class. Li Yuan's grades are also good and have improved slightly. In this case, in the senior year of high school, most of the class teachers would turn a blind eye and make way for the college entrance examination. In high school, he was still worried that he would be separated by the class teacher. Who knew that he was not pointed out by the class teacher until he graduated from high school? Of course, the main reason for this is that although the relationship between the two is very close, it is far from the kind of relationship of falling in love. The middle-aged woman next to Wang Hongguang listened to her husband's teasing and asked in surprise. Old Wang, are these two your students? Wang Hongguang introduced proudly, Teacher Wu, let me introduce you. This is Bai Wuxi, last year the first in my graduating class, scored over 640 points in the college entrance examination and was admitted to the School of Finance and Accounting of Daxia University. Teacher Wu smiled and nodded, Bai Wuxi? I've heard of you. Your father is Bai Tiankai, and he teaches Chinese at the 6th middle school in the county, right? Bai Wuxi nodded, yes, Teacher Wu. My father is in the same school as you. I've also met you a few times. Teacher Wu looked at Bai Wuxi's beautiful face and smiled. Sure enough, she is Teacher Bai's daughter. The daughter takes after her father. She is such a pretty girl. Bai Wuxi smiled politely. Wang Hongguang was a little surprised, Teacher Wu, do you know each other? Teacher Wu nodded and explained, her father and I are in the same grade, and we once took the same class for a year. Wang Hongguang said oh and didn't care. The education industry in the county is so small, and there are only a few famous schools, so it is normal for them to know each other. Teacher Wu, let me introduce you to Li Yuan. He is amazing. He is the most promising student I have taught for decades. Oh, the most promising one, Teacher Wu was a little shocked. Her husband is a special grade teacher. He has taught many classes of high school students and even several students in the Olympic Games class. Among the students he has taught, there are more than one student from Tsinghua University and Peking University. The tall and handsome boy in front of him just graduated from high school last year and was admitted to university. Can it be confirmed that he is the most promising one among all the students my husband has taught? She couldn't help but look at Li Yuan a few more times. At this sight, Wu Qing frowned secretly. She felt that Li Yuan's face was a little familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere. Wang Hongguang on the side continued to praise Li Yuan's deeds. Teacher Wu, Li Yuan is amazing. He was also admitted to the School of Computer Science at Daxia University. Haha, I also heard that he chose this university specifically for Baiwuxi. These two children should have made an agreement in high school. Speaking of this, Wang Hongguang looked at Li Yuan and Baiwuxi meaningfully, and sighed in his heart. They were desk mates in high school, lovers in college, and both got admitted to the same 985 university. Although there is a bit of luck involved, it can be seen that the two people are destined to be together. Li Yuan is even more amazing. Right after the college entrance examination, he wrote an online novel called Battle of the Stars. He became famous with the book, became a great writer, and joined the Chinese Writers Association. Then, he started a business in college and established a website called Zhihu.com. I wonder if you have heard of it? After hearing Zhihu.com, Wu Qing was stunned and stared at Li Yuan in surprise, and asked, "Did you really create that Zhihu.com?" Li Yuan smiled and nodded, "Well, I was bored in college and developed a website casually." Teacher Wu, do you know this website? Seeing Li Yuan admitted himself, Wu Qing was shocked and said in shock, "Well, this website is very interesting. I also downloaded and registered it." Li Yuan was a little surprised, but he thought it was natural. The Zhihu website he established in this time and space is based on the Hupu, Zhihu, and Xiaohongshu websites that he often played in his previous life. It is normal that it will attract some knowledgeable women. Wang Hongguang continued to praise. In addition, Li Yuan is also a great musical talent. He has written many popular songs, especially one of them, Ordinary Road, which is really very nice and shocking. Ordinary Road, Wu Qing asked in surprise, isn't it written by a star named Sheng Ru Xiahua? Li Yuan, that star named Sheng Ru Xiahua, is it you? Li Yuan smiled awkwardly, Teacher Wu, it's me. Wu Qing was surprised to see Li Yuan admitted himself, it's really you, wow, you're awesome, you're worthy of being the most promising student in Lao Wang's eyes. Li Yuan replied modestly, you two teachers are too kind, I'm just lucky. Wu Qing looked at Li Yuan deeply and joked, big star, there's a saying, being too modest is just pretentious. Wang Hongguang adjusted his glasses, looked at Li Yuan, and continued to talk about Li Yuan's deeds. Teacher Wu, Li Yuan has done something big. Didn't he study computer science? He started a business as a college student and developed a game. It is very popular now. Wu Qing was even more surprised, Li Yuan, you are still developing games. Li Yuan smiled and nodded, well, I am a little interested in games, so I developed a game. Wu Qing asked curiously, oh, what type of game? Li Yuan said, it has just been launched and is not well known. It belongs to the online competitive game category. Wang Hongguang added, don't listen to Li Yuan's humble words. The game he developed is called King of Glory. It is very popular on the internet. I heard that the daily sales volume exceeds 100 million. Daily sales volume exceeds 100 million? So amazing, Wu Qing was shocked, his mouth grew into an O shape, and his eyes looking at Li Yuan became completely different. At any time, money is the easiest to reflect, and the most direct reflection of whether a product is popular. Li Yuan explained, it's not that exaggerated. It just went online, so the data will look better. Wu Qing suddenly thought of something and asked, Li Yuan, your current net worth should be over 100 million, right? Li Yuan answered vaguely, about that. He didn't want people to know too much about how much money he had. Besides, he himself didn't know how much money he had now. A lot of money went into the company's account every day, and the profit was very exaggerated. Wu Qing opened his mouth and said in disbelief, oh my God. In an era when their salaries were in thousands, they were shocked to see a person with a net worth of 100 million, and he was still a freshman. Although Wang Hongguang was also shocked, he had expected it in his heart and smiled and invited him. Li Yuan, when are you leaving after the new year? When you are free, let's sit together. Li Yuan was slightly surprised. Many students invited teachers to dinner, but it was not common for teachers to invite students to dinner. Li Yuan replied, I will probably return to Shanghai around the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. There are a lot of things to do at the company. I will wait and see when teacher Wang is free and I will make arrangements. Wang Hongguang smiled and nodded, okay, I will call you later. Li Yuan looked at the time and the empty shopping cart in Wu Qing's hand. He originally planned to help with the checkout, but now it seems that it is too late, so he can only smile and say, Teacher Wang, Teacher Wu, then you guys go shopping first. Wang Hongguang looked at the shopping cart full of snacks and fruits pushed by Wixi and nodded. Well, you guys go first, Teacher Wu and I just arrived, and we haven't bought anything yet. After Li Yuan and Wixi left hand in hand. Wu Qing couldn't help but sigh, old Wang, this student you taught is incredible. He is so young, but he has a net worth of over 100 million yuan, and he is also a big star. His future is limitless. Wang Hongguang also had a red face, and he looked proud and laughed. Of course, he is the best student I have ever taught in my life. On the other side, Wixi couldn't help but pat his chest after leaving the supermarket with Li Yuan, with a frightened expression. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 508. Brother, it turns out that the head teacher has known about our relationship for a long time. Fortunately, he didn't tell my parents at that time, otherwise I would have been miserable. Hee, you don't know, when my boss said that just now, I was extremely nervous. Li Yuan smiled and asked, which sentence? Wixi replied, that's it. When I was in high school, I thought you two were in love. Li Yuan smiled, then do you think we were in love at that time? When Wixi heard Li Yuan's words, his expression suddenly froze, as if he had thought of something. He looked at Li Yuan with clear eyes and spoke cautiously. Brother, are you still angry with me? Li Yuan silently touched Wixi's little head, knowing what she was talking about. At this stage, the grudge in his heart had long since disappeared, and he would not be angry over such a trivial matter. In high school, isn't it normal to put academics first and not fall in love? Silly girl, how can I be so stingy? Let's go home. Wixi smiled with relief, hugged Li Yuan's arm, and said with a sweet smile. Well, let's go home. Chapter 288, open another page of genealogy and the idea of building an ancestral hall. Li Yuan took Wixi and returned directly to his hometown in Bangsu town after leaving the supermarket. As soon as the two got out of the car, Li Zixia ran over to say hello. Sister Wei 11, welcome home. Li Yuan's other cousins also came over to say hello, especially the cousins who were younger than Li Yuan, and they all directly called sister-in-law. Sister-in-law is here? Will you celebrate the new year with us today? Sister-in-law, sit down quickly and eat some melon seeds. When Li Yuan's cousin called her sister-in-law, Wixi's face turned red and her expression looked very shy, but she was really happy in her heart and she also said hello. Li Yuan took down the high-quality snacks and fruits he bought and shouted. Zixia, Xing Xing, Jun Jun, your sister-in-law bought you a lot of snacks and fruits from the supermarket. Come over quickly to eat. Wow, durian, cherries, cherry tomatoes, they are all my favorites. Thank you, Sister Wei 11. Li Zixia took the fruit excitedly and beamed. This is specially chosen for you, if you like it, eat more. Bai Wuxi smiled brightly. She was very smart. When she came into contact with Li Zixia in the Magic City, she had already remembered her interests and hobbies, such as her favorite snacks and fruits. With the hard work of Xiaqin and several aunts, a large table of meals was soon ready, with more than 20 dishes. As a rural luxury villa, there is an extra large luxurious living room on the first floor with a super large revolving table. Li Yuan looked at the large family in front of him and felt proud in his heart. In my previous life, I didn't do very well. Although I got admitted into the system, I was a bit depressed because I came from a 3-generation peasant family and had no background or connections, let alone a glorious ancestor. Even, maybe, there are many people secretly gossiping behind the scenes. But this life is completely different. His position at this time, right here, is something that no one can shake. The 6 bottles of more than 3,000 bottles of mutai placed on the table are a reflection of reality. For uncles, cousins, and other out-and-out farmers, if it weren't for Li Yuan, they would never have the chance to drink mutai in their lives. In Dali village, each family only has 6 or 7 acres of land, and a year's crop harvest cannot buy 2 bottles of mutai. Therefore, I would not be willing to drink it at all. Normally when doing business in the village, the cigarettes used are Huangshan, which costs 7 yuan a pack, and the wine used is only 21 to 31 bottles of locally produced seed wine. And now, as the wine commander, Li Yuan picked up his wine glass and looked at the large family in front of him. Although their academic qualifications are not high, they have no background, and their families are very ordinary, so they cannot give themselves much help. But he knows a truth: a hero has 3 gangs, and a fence has 3 stakes. In rural areas, no matter how rich you are, if your family is not prosperous, you will not have much say and you will be bullied. Unless, completely disconnect from the village and settle in a big city. Li Yuan picked up the wine glass and spoke slowly. Grandpa, Grandma, eldest uncle, second uncle, cousin, thank you all for giving me this face. It is a rare opportunity to have a meal together on New Year's Eve. I hope that our Li family, with our joint efforts, will become more and more prosperous. Come, let's drink this together. Li Hong felt very proud when he saw Li Yuan say such words, and the smile on his face never broke. In the past 6 months, he has personally experienced what father is more important than son, and he is respected wherever he goes. This is an experience he has never had in half his life. Come on, cheers. For our old Li family to have a child of Xiao Yuan's caliber, it's like smoke is rising from the graves of our ancestors. With Xiao Yuan here, our whole family will be able to live a good life in the future. Under Xiao Yuan's leadership, our lives will definitely become more and more prosperous. Yes, Xiao Yuan is grown up now, and he will need more brothers and sisters to help him in the future. We are all one big family, with an inseparable blood relationship, and we must unite together in the future. As Li Yuan spoke, uncles, cousins, and cousins all stood up one after another and raised their glasses together. Adult men drink liquor, while girls drink juice and other drinks. Listening to the compliments from the whole family, Li Yuan felt a little carried away. At this moment, he somewhat understood why there is a saying that if wealth does not return to its hometown, it is like walking at night in brocade clothes. This kind of spiritual satisfaction requires a greater sense of accomplishment than no matter how much praise you receive outside. Although their level of knowledge and culture is not high, and they have no status. But this feeling of being able to lead a family to grow is completely different. Li Yuan suddenly thought of the scene that he often saw in his previous life, where some big families, with hundreds of people, would pay New Year's greetings and celebrate the New Year together. At that time, he felt that as long as such a family united, no one in the local area would dare to bully them. Looking at the large family in front of him, an idea suddenly came to his mind. With his current ability and vision, he might not be able to build such a big family in the future. Money is not a problem, the direction of development is not a problem, and making money is not a problem. As long as they are willing to follow their own arrangements, they will definitely be able to do well in the future and enjoy the hot and spicy food together. In his previous life, he had a good relationship with several of his cousins. As the cup is pushed and the cup is changed. After drinking liquor, my uncle, and two cousins also talked about some of the things that happened to the old and young men in the village. Uncle Li Zhen said, "Lao San, you're not at home. You don't know that after the news of Xiao Yuan's fortune spread, there were many jealous people in our village who were still making sarcastic remarks and spreading rumors behind our backs." Li Heng frowned and said coldly, "Who said that?" Li Zhen replied, "Who else could it be? The family in the second room. Before, they had been suppressing our first room because they had a village secretary at home. Now that Xiao Yuan has gained momentum, of course they are dissatisfied. My cousin Li Zikao, because he grows vegetables at home all year round, has a clear understanding of the discussions behind the scenes of the old and young men in this village, so he also added. I also heard them talking behind their backs, and the words they said were quite unpleasant. Anyway, they must be displeased with us as a family." Li Heng snorted coldly and confidently, "They are rebelling against us. They tried to suppress us everywhere before, and they still want to do this now. There is no way." After Li Heng finished speaking, he looked at Li Yuan and warned. "Xiao Yuan, I have been discussing with your uncle, second uncle, and brothers these days. We are planning to build a family ancestral hall. What do you think?" As soon as Li Heng said this, dozens of people at the dinner table immediately looked at Li Yuan, waiting for his reply. They all know who is the person in charge of the family in this family now. When Li Yuan heard his father's proposal to build a family ancestral hall, he did not object or immediately agreed. "Dad, how did you come up with the idea of building an ancestral hall?" Li Heng explained with a smile, "I saw that people in the Magic City all do this. Some big families will build family ancestral halls, which can enhance the cohesion of the family. Now we all bury the graves in the ground and wait. After our brothers leave, we may gradually become far apart. We used to have one in our family, but in special times, it was removed due to ingredients issues." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 509. Xiao Yuan, what do you think? We all want to hear your opinion and wait for you to make a decision. After hearing his father's explanation and ideas, Li Yuan nodded and agreed with the idea of building a family ancestral hall. Building a family ancestral hall is not new and can be seen frequently, especially in the southern region. Since his father and uncles all want to build a family ancestral hall, he naturally has no reason to object. Building an ancestral hall is only a few 100 million or tens of millions, which is not a problem for him at all. Li Yuan thought about it and said with finality, "I have no objection to building a family ancestral hall. I fully support it. In my opinion, if we want to build an ancestral hall, we should set a higher standard and learn from the big families in the south. In the future, no matter which city our family develops in, we will have our own roots. In addition, I suggest that in addition to building an ancestral hall, we should revise our family tree according to our lineage. Listening to Li Yuan's idea of revising the family tree, the four brothers Li Heng and Li Zhen all had bright eyes and were very excited. This is a big deal. After building a family ancestral hall and revising the family tree, this family will have its own roots and its own inheritance in the future, and naturally it will also have cohesion. Xiao Yuan, your idea is very good. Let's do it this way. The family ancestral hall needs to be renovated, and the family tree needs to be renovated as well. Li Heng said excitedly. The second branch of the family has always wanted to suppress us. In the future, we can suppress them and let them gossip behind our backs. Second Uncle Li Cheng added, since we want to renovate, let's discuss how to renovate, where to renovate, what to renovate, and where to start organizing the family tree. Uncle Li Wu also said, we have land and houses on the roadside, so just build them directly. If there is not enough land, we can exchange it from the side or buy it directly. Li Heng nodded, Old Four is right, just buy it directly, and it must be built beautifully. Next, everyone said something and decided on this matter. In fact, the four brothers had already discussed it a few days ago. Just waiting for Li Yuan to come back and express his attitude. After all, whether it is building a family ancestral hall or renovating a family tree, the money must be paid by Li Yuan. Uncle Li Zhen's face was flushed from drinking. He picked up the wine glass and said with emotion, come on, let's drink together as a family. This is the first time I drink mutai in my life, all thanks to Xiao Yuan. Li Heng was also excited and his face was flushed. Come on, let's drink. We are all family, so let's not talk about different things. As the wine table was filled with people talking and talking, they talked about the development of the family again. They all knew that Li Yuan was already worth over 100 million yuan, had opened several companies, and was a big star himself. They all wanted Li Yuan to help them and help a few cousins. Li Heng looked at his son, feeling extremely proud. Thinking about the situation of the other three brothers' families, he persuaded him earnestly. Xiao Yuan, you are up now, see if you can help our family. As soon as Li Yuan heard it, he understood what his father meant. He would naturally not refuse to help his uncles and cousins. In the future, his wealth will only increase, and since his father has already spoken, it is only right to help his father's brothers. It's just a piece of cake. Even if his father wants to take out a few million and give it to his brothers, Li Yuan will not object. At this time, money is really just a number for him. Now, the sales of the game King of Glory are over 100 million every day, which is basically net profit. This game alone is worth tens of billions. In addition to the future Jihu.com and Cheyenne USA milk tea shop. In addition, he is preparing to discuss the acquisition plan with Yuandian Chinese network. The current Yuandian Chinese network has become very large because of his appearance, but the overall market value is not too high, at most it is at the billion level. With his current financial resources, he can directly complete the acquisition plan in less than a month and directly bring Yuandian Chinese network, the future leader of online literature, under his command. He believes that as long as he acquires Yuandian Chinese network at a price higher than the market price, Wu Wenhui will definitely agree. Even if he disagrees, he can still start from scratch and build a new literary website. At this time, in addition to Yuandian Chinese network, there are still many literary websites. Building an online literary website is just a small investment direction for Li Yuan. He still has many investment directions in mind, just waiting for Honor of Kings to go online to collect a lot of funds. If you have money, you can get involved in some industries, such as online shopping, takeout, short videos, communications, etc. After having capital, with his understanding of the future development direction, making money is really too easy, faster than using a money printing machine to make money. Various ideas flashed in his mind, and Li Yuan looked at his father Li Heng, as well as his uncles, cousins, and others. Dad, uncles, we are all family, I am definitely willing to help. Let's do this, tell me what you think, and I will think of a solution. Whether you want to start a business, invest, or just make some money, I can help. Hearing what Li Yuan said, elders Li Zhen, Li Cheng, Li Wu, as well as cousins Li Zikao, Li Ziliang, etc. all stared at Li Yuan with burning eyes. The reason why they sat down to eat together was not just to drink some mutai, but also to ask Li Yuan to help them get rid of poverty and become rich. Uncle Li Zhen said with a smile on his face. Xiao Yuan, with your words, our brothers are completely relieved. The second uncle, Li Cheng, said more directly, Xiao Yuan, I will leave your two brothers to you. You can see what they can do and make arrangements as you wish. If they dare not listen to you, I will kill them. His legs were broken. The uncle also answered, my second brother is right. If you have any ideas, just give me orders. Your cousins will definitely listen to you. When the four cousins heard what their parents said, they knew that they were doing this for their own good, and they quickly expressed their stance towards Li Yuan. As the boss, Li Zikao, who was already in his early 30s this year, stood up directly, poured a large glass of white wine, and looked at Li Yuan. Xiao Yuan, your elder brother and I are stupid. From now on, you can just arrange it. It's all in the wine, I did it. The other three cousins also followed suit and raised their glasses. Boss is right. If anything happens in the future, Xiao Yuan, just give your orders. We promise to do as you say. He, from now on, our brothers will follow you, Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan is so generous, he must have made good arrangements for us. After listening to the words of his cousins, Li Yuan smiled and did not refute. Among the cousins, the eldest is only in his 30s, and the other three are all in their 20s, when they are the most energetic and enterprising in their lives. Li Yuan agreed, don't worry, leave it to me. Li Yuan really has some ideas about the arrangement of his cousins. Although it is impossible to become rich due to his academic qualifications and vision, there is no problem at all in becoming a rich man. Bai Wuxi sat next to Li Yuan and felt very satisfied listening to Li Yuan discussing family matters with his family. This shows that the Li family has accepted her and regarded her as family. After lunch, a large family, more than a dozen men, all smelling of alcohol, set off toward the fields to perform the New Year's grave-going ceremony. In northern Anhui, groups of people go to visit the graves of their ancestors every year. It is a tradition that has been passed down for a long time. Chapter 289 What do my parents think? Do you want me to give birth to a monkey? In northern Anhui, it is customary here to visit graves on the afternoon of New Year's Eve and the morning of New Year's Day. However, only men can go, young and old, but women cannot go. The group of people, very drunk, walked towards the fields. The house suddenly became empty, leaving only a few women washing away the leftovers, pots and pans, chatting about their parents' insecurities. The aunt is over 50 years old, her hair is already mixed with black and white. While washing the dishes and chopsticks, she joked. Xiaqin, your daughter-in-law is so beautiful and elegant. In 2 years, she might be able to have a grandchild. Xiaqin grinned and chuckled, she has just entered her freshman year. If she wants to get married and have children, at least she has to wait until she graduates from college. The aunt smiled and said, your family is so rich, why should you go to school? Get married quickly, have more sons, and inherit the family business. My brother-in-law's wife also joked, Xiaobai has come to your house to celebrate the new year and they all live together, which means her parents don't object. Why should she go to school? Just get engaged first and wait until she graduates from college. Marry. I heard that college students can now have children. Your family, Xiao Yuan, has built such a big business, so there is no need to have more children. The second aunt also smiled and joked, haha, that's the truth. Although our families are poor, we all have 3 or 4 children. In my opinion, with Xiaowen's strength, he can definitely find a few more girlfriends and expand his business. Don't they want to build an ancestral hall? If they don't have children, then they can build an ancestral hall. Those big bosses don't have several wives and have a lot of children. Listening to the banter of several people, the figures of Xia Haijin and Zhong Tingyu suddenly appeared in Xia Qin's mind, and she sighed quietly in her heart. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 510. They didn't know that Li Yuan really dated several girlfriends at the same time, and what he said was just a joke between the sisters-in-law. But she knew that her son really had 3 girlfriends, each of whom was a young, beautiful, and outstanding college student. It's too early to talk about engagement now. This is Xiao Yuan's own business. He has grown up and can make his own decisions. We, as parents, can't say too much. Xia Qin replied perfunctorily. Although she didn't know how Li Yuan arranged to bring Bai Wuxi home for the new year, facing such a complicated situation, she could only choose to let Li Yuan make the decision. She liked all 3 of her son's girlfriends. She knew Bai Wuxi's family situation very well. Both of her parents were teachers in the county, and they were considered a family of scholars. Before the change, she didn't dare to think that her son could find a girlfriend with such conditions. Her personality, conversation, and knowledge were also very good, and she was also very beautiful. If she could have such a daughter-in-law, she would be 100% satisfied in her heart. Not to mention Xia's Haijin, whose personality, temper, appearance, and temperament all perfectly match her ultimate fantasy of a daughter-in-law. When she and Xia's Haijin were alone together, they were very close, as if they were adopting another daughter. It's just that the family is not very good and the distance is a bit far, but for Li Yuan now, it's not a problem. Her attitude towards Zhong Tingyu is a bit complicated. When facing this beautiful girl who is a bit of a disaster to the country and the people, she always has a sense of inferiority from the bottom of her heart, probably because the other party was born in a big city, and her conversation, temperament, and clothes all have the atmosphere of a big city. In the living room, Bai Wuxi is chatting with Li Zixia and other little girls, talking about some interesting things when Li Yuan was a child. Sister Wei 11, you don't know that my brother was very naughty when he was young. He often took us to catch fish and shrimps, bathe in the river, and often fought. Yes, he never went home to do his homework. After school every day, he either played marbles or went to play firecrackers, but his grades were always good. As expected, a genius is a genius. Sister Wei 11, tell us, how did you and my brother know each other, and who chased who? Listening to the questions of several high school and junior high school girls who were a few years younger than her, Bai Wei 11's pretty face blushed slightly, and her head was a little confused. She didn't know how to answer. In high school, it was Li Yuan who took the initiative to pursue her. He confessed 3 times, but she was rejected every time. But in college, how should it be counted? Should it be considered that she took the initiative to pursue him? Bai Wei 11 was a little confused. After returning from the grave, Li Yuan was pulled to talk about family and national affairs and future family arrangements. Because there has been no talent in their family, they have been suppressed by the second branch and suppressed openly and secretly. Now, taking advantage of Li Yuan's prosperity, they all want to make a fortune with the help of Li Yuan. Several married cousins, including uncles, although they are not well educated and cannot engage in professional technical work, are fortunately hardworking and capable. Li Yuan is also willing to give them a chance. After all, brothers fight and fathers and sons fight. He has only 1 sister and 1 son. Although he can live well alone in the Magic City. But if he can help a few cousins who have a good relationship with him, what's the harm? At most, it's just a little bit of wasted money. According to their plan, even if they spend all their money, it's just less than the sales of King of Glory in less than one day. Besides, this matter was proposed by his father, and it was also the injustice that his old father had always been thinking about. In the past, Li Hong didn't know how much money Li Yuan had. He only knew that he made millions by writing novels, so he didn't have such an idea. But after living in Shanghai for a few months, he saw Li Yuan's multi-million mansion, and also saw Li Yuan's Lamborghini supercar worth millions. He also knew the huge profits brought by his milk tea shop and games. His son had too much money to spend, so he naturally wanted to help a group of brothers who had a good relationship. After a messy discussion, the whole family finally looked at Li Yuan and let him make the decision. Li Yuan actually didn't think about it. What kind of business should they do? High-tech enterprises are definitely not good. Others are just some simple and easy to get started. Uncle, second uncle, I haven't thought about it yet. Li Yuan looked at the expectant eyes of everyone and smiled. How about this, uncles and aunts? You are a little older now, you can stay at home to build the family ancestral hall and your own houses, and let your cousin and cousin's wife go to Shanghai to have a look, try their luck, and see the world. By the way, I am going to take out 20 million as the family development fund of our Li family, which will be used for the development of our family, including building the ancestral hall, compiling the family tree, starting a business, etc. I will set up a special account for this money, which will be managed by my father. If you really have any entrepreneurial ideas, you can apply for it from the Family Development Fund. After everyone discusses and approves it, you can provide an interest-free loan with no limit on the number of years. When you make money in the future, you can put the money into the Family Development Fund. Li Zhen, Li Cheng, Li Wu, and Li Zikao were shocked when they heard that Li Yuan had given out 20 million as family development funds, even though they already knew Li Yuan's net worth. The cousin, Li Zikao, looked at Li Yuan in extreme shock. Xiao Yuan, is this too much money? We just want to start a small business. Uncle Li Wu also nodded in agreement. Yes, 20 million is too much. I just want to open a small restaurant. I will be satisfied if I can earn hundreds of thousands a year. I can only save the 20 million in the bank to earn interest. You can earn hundreds of thousands in interest income every year, right? Second cousin Li Ziliang added, now the interest rate for large time deposits is more than 3%. If it is 1 million, it will be 30,000 a year. If it is 20 million, the interest alone will be 600,000. My God, 1 year's interest income can be hundreds of thousands, which is enough for our family to work for most of our lives. Xiao Yuan, how about you save this money? If we start a business and fail, won't we suffer a big loss? Listening to the discussion of several people, Li Yuan couldn't help but smile. To be honest, based on the level of a few cousins and uncles, if you start a business for them, you may not be able to succeed, and you will almost certainly lose money. But, then again, if you were afraid of this or that, why would you set up this family development fund? Giving them a sum of money directly and letting them enjoy it would be considered the most benevolent thing. Isn't this because he thinks that the family can be more prosperous under his leadership? Li Yuan smiled and said, as for whether to start a business or buy a property, you can decide it yourself. After you decide, just let me know. By the way, in order to show support for the development of our Li family, I have decided to support each of your families with 2 million. You can renovate the old house at home, build a large villa, and buy a scooter for each family. If you need to take the driver's license test, if you need to study, everyone will have a bright future. Li Yuan looked at the stunned uncles, and cousins, and added, This 2 million is provided free of charge for the sake of our family and is not included in the family's development funds. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he glanced at Bai Wuxi, who was staying aside obediently. Xiao Bai, collect the bank accounts of uncles and uncles later, arrange a company, and transfer the money. Bai Wuxi nodded obediently. Today is New Year's Eve, and the bank may not be open for business. Let's wait until tomorrow. Li Yuan touched Bai Wuxi's head. Okay, just a few days, it doesn't matter, let's have a good year first. Uncle Li Zhen was completely stunned by Li Yuan's generosity. He looked at Li Yuan and was very moved in his heart. However, is it too wasteful to directly give each of them 2 million to build houses and buy cars? Xiao Yuan, 2 million is a bit too much. To build a villa, only 3 to 400,000 is enough. Li Yuan smiled and shook his head. I have 4 cousins. They are all married, and each of them builds a house. The remaining money can also be used to improve your life and buy some good clothes, shoes, and so on. When you go to the Magic City, you won't be looked down upon by others. Hearing how thoughtful Li Yuan was, everyone in the family expressed their sincere thanks. The eldest brother, Li Zikao, has already promised with all his heart. Xiao Yuan, don't worry, our whole family will all support you and listen to your arrangements. If you ask us to go east, I will never go west. Although your brother and I just graduated from junior high school and have no knowledge, but I still have some strength. From now on, this life will be left to you. Second cousin Li Ziliang immediately followed. Me too, I went to an ordinary undergraduate university and I didn't do well. Xiao Yuan, you can just arrange whatever you want to do in the future. If it doesn't work out, I can work as a security guard for your company. Li Yuan burst out laughing after listening to Li Ziliang's words. His second cousin was 7 or 8 years older than him. He had an ordinary undergraduate degree in a prefecture-level city in the province. However, he is pretty good looking, about the same height as Li Yuan himself, and he exercises regularly. If he were to be a security guard, he would have to be a security captain. Li Wu is also very excited. He now only has one son who is in junior high school. Haha, I believe that our Li family, under the leadership of Xiao Yuan, will definitely be able to honor our ancestors and prosper. The second uncle, Li Chang, suddenly asked curiously, Third brother, I remember when you named Xiao Yuan, did you ask the fortune teller to check it? Li Hong nodded. At that time, the fortune teller said that Xiao Yuan's appearance was the destiny of a hidden dragon in the abyss. Once he encountered an opportunity and broke the shackles, he would be able to soar into the sky. That's why I gave Xiao Yuan the name Li Yuan. Since our surname is Li, it's a bit taboo to give him this name. Li Zhen smiled and said, it is true that Xiao Yuan is twice as big as. He should have been named Li Ziyuan. It was you who insisted on the name Li Yuan. We all said at the time that we were afraid that Xiao Yuan wouldn't be able to suppress it. As people with the surname Li, they all naturally know that there is a historical figure named Li Yuan in history. Most people really don't dare to use this name. Li Hong looked at his son and smiled proudly. Fortunately, I insisted on choosing this name. Maybe this is my destiny. The descendants of our Li family will really honor our ancestors.